Halloween is a time where veil between world of the living and the world of the dead is at its thinnest. I've never really been into the party side of this day, nor going around the streets knocking on doors and demanding for sweets, or else. But this minute separation, this fascinated me. I'd done some pretty stupid things in the past, trying to contact the other side, calling out into the candlelight, placing my finger on a glass in the middle of the table, setting up night vision cameras and wandering through the darkness. But this time was the worst. After searching online and going through pretty crazy shops, I found what I was looking for, an Ouija board. This board was right in front of me on the carpeted floor and I was sitting cross-legged. The lights were out, but I could see with the dim light of two flickering candles placed both sides of the board, illuminating the creepy sun and the moon pictures. I picked up the planchette, a heart-shaped object, and settled it on the numbers. "If there's anybody here, I ask you to come forward," I called out. I didn't expect anything to happen, and I was right. I lightly touched the planchette and asked out again. "Please come forward and speak to me through this board." A tiny flicker of the candle caught my eye, but it wasn't enough to make me believe that someone, or something, was actually there. But a slight jolt underneath my fingers did. "Hello?" I said cautiously. I was nervous, but remained a strong composure. The balls of the planchette started to move and I was shocked that it was working, more than scared. It moved over to H, then E, and hovered around the L. I expected an O, but that never came. "What's your name?" I stammered. I took a deep breath. The planchette shifted to the letters M and G, and then back to M again. "Mum." My mum, I hoped. Are you my mother?" I called out, sensing the feeling of shock more than feeling frightened. For a while the planchette stood still, but then it slowly made its way to yes. "Is Dad there with you too?" My vision started to blur as tears welled up in my eyes. The planchette moved to the other side of the board quickly, then back to hovering over yes. I had lost both of my parents in a plane crash 4 years ago. I was 22 at the time and had a full-time job, so I was able to stay in the house. It was reassuring to know that they were still here, although I had already moved on. I choked back the tears and asked them, "Did it hurt when you died?" The planchette moved to no. I was glad about that. "Are you in pain now?" I called out. The planchette never moved, so I assumed it was no again. "Why are you still here?" The planchette didn't move. I asked the question again and again, but I got nothing. It just stayed on no. I thought they had gone, but I didn't feel alone. The darkness behind me suddenly felt thick and alive. I cautiously looked out, but saw nothing. I picked up one of the candles and shone it into the blackness, and the blackness never distorted. I shone it around the whole area, and it was like I was blocked in by a wall of shadows. A shiver crept down my spine. "Mum? Dad?" I hastily called out. I heard a scraping in front of me. The planchette was moving on its own. Slowly, it made its way to H, E, L, P. "Help! Help! Help!" It moved faster and faster between the letters, practically screaming at me. "Help! Help! How can I help?" I shouted. My heart was racing, and I heard it pumping away in my ears. Nothing changed. Help whirled around the board, the pressure on it getting deeper and deeper. Scratches formed on its surface and they glistened under the candlelight that was slowly getting darker and darker. The sun and moon's faces were becoming distorted. I shut my eyes tight. Now I started to scream, "Help! Help!" but nobody could hear me. The scratching of the board and the beating of my own heart that filled my ears turned into whispers that grew louder and louder. I felt the walls of black close on me more, the weight of them pressing down on my shoulders. I cried out, but even I couldn't hear myself over the loud whispers that also turned into shouts of hopelessness. And then it stopped. I heard nothing. Not the cries of the dead, not the heavy breathing of my own. Nothing. I saw nothing too. The candles had gone out. I scrambled around the darkness, trying to find the light switch, but the walls around me felt foreign. The floor underneath me wasn't carpet at all. but was replaced by a cold, sticky surface instead. I turned around from the walls, and in front of me was the Ouija board, illuminated by an unknown source of light. I walked over to it and sat down, tears hot on my face. Is there anybody there?" My own voice pierced my ears. It was too loud in the silence. The planchette on the board slowly moved towards. Yes. "What is your name?" I knew my parents were no longer there. It was something else. Without hesitation, the planchette moved towards D, then E, A, T, H, death. He had taken me. I steadied my breathing, which I could still not hear. Where am I? I already knew. The planchette spelled it out. H-E-L-L. That wasn't even the worst thing. I'd crossed the veil, and I was alone.